Hey guys, welcome to Devine Magic, and today we're going to carry on reading the book. So this is part 2 of the book Devine Magic, which is the 7 Sacred Secrets of Manifestation based on the Kybalion. Okay, I don't know, I hope this is probably upside down and back to front. Sorry about that. I hope you enjoy it. Let me just close the window. I'm in the beauty of nature where I live here in Buckinghamshire. It's a place called Untitled Valley, and it's where I come to now to let go and relax. It's absolutely stunning. I can't really turn the camera to show you, but I think you can see in the background the trees, and the cows are out at the moment. So I've just closed the window so we don't get, and I'm sitting in quite a quiet place. Okay, so we're going to carry on with this book, which is going to help you manifest. All right? So we're carrying on now with the physical plane, just to recap. The great physical plane and its 7 minor planes includes everything physical and material, along with physics, energy forces, and manifestations. Keep in mind that Hermetics view matter as a dense form of energy with slow vibrations. So Hermetists classify matter under the category of energy and assign it 3 of the 7 minor planes of the great physical plane. These 7 minor physical planes are as follows: the plane of matter, the plane of matter, the plane of matter, the plane of ethereal substance, the plane of energy, the plane of energy, and the plane of energy. Okay? The plane of matter includes matter in solid, liquids, and gases. The plane of matter comprises higher, subtler, and radiant forms of matter such as radioactive waves and particles. The plane of matter, C, involves the most subtle and tenuous matter. Matter. It's like the song from Ruddigore, the Matter song, but yeah. If you know Gilbert and Sullivan, the existence of which is not suspected by ordinary scientists. The plane of ethereal substance is composed of ether, an extremely elastic substance that pervades all universal space and which is the medium for energy waves. Next highest in vibrational frequency is the plane of energy, which includes heat, light, magnetism, electricity, and attraction such as gravity, cohesion, and chemical affinity. The plane of energy comprises higher forms of energy not yet discovered by science, known as nature's finer forces. They conduct the energy of mental phenomena such as telepathy. The plane of energy includes energy so highly organized that it bears many of the characteristics of life. This energy is only known to beings of the spiritual plane and to those who know and experience this plane while still living upon the earth. The mental plane. The great mental plane includes living things known to us in ordinary life, as well as other forms known only to occultists. As with the material plane, the mental plane is subdivided into 7 minor planes, which are the plane of mineral mind, the plane of elemental mind, the plane of plant mind, a plane of animal mind, the plane of elemental mind, and the plane of human mind. The plane of mineral mind comprises the conditions of the entities that animate the minerals and chemicals. These entities are not to be confused with molecules and atoms, which are merely the material forms of these entities, just as a man's body is his material form and not himself. These entities may be called souls, who are living beings of slow vibration at a rate slightly faster than the living energy of the highest physical plane. The average person usually doesn't recognize the mind, soul, or life within the mineral kingdom. However, all occultists recognize this existence, and modern science is rapidly moving toward the point of view of the Hermetic in this respect. Molecules, atoms, and corpuscles have their likes and dislikes, and attractions and repulsions. Some of the more daring scientists have postulated that the emotions and feelings of atoms differ only degree from those of men. All occultists know this to be a fact. The plane of elemental mind includes the most basic elemental beings. Although they are invisible to the ordinary senses of humans, they exist and play their part of the drama of the universe. Their degree of intelligence is between that of the mineral and chemical entities on the one hand, and of the entities of the plant kingdom on the other. The plane of plant mind is composed of the kingdoms of the plant world. Plants have life, mind, and soul. The plane of elemental mind involves higher vibrating and more intelligent elementals than the elemental plane. The plane of animal mind combines the entities, beings, or souls animating the animal forms of life. The plane of elemental mind are the highest vibrational and most intelligent elemental beings, such as fairies, elves, leprechauns, and such. The plane of human mind is the human life and mentality. This plane, like the others, has 7 subcategories. From the slowest vibrational rate of low intelligence to the highest rate of spiritual wisdom and intelligence. It has taken the human race millions of years to collectively reach the 4th subdivision of vibration and intelligence. Some advanced souls are vibrating at the level of the 5th, 6th, or 7th subdivisions. Some humans even exist on the lower levels of the most highest plane, the great spiritual plane. Right, the spiritual plane. The great spiritual plane, like the other planes, has 7 subdivisions called minor planes, which also have 7 subdivisions of their own. This plane encompasses being whose life, mind, and form vibrate at the highest rates. Humans who have reached the level of adept or avatar are at the lowest subdivision of this plane. Above them are the angels, archangels, ascended masters, and deities. These unseen divinities and angelic helpers extend their influence freely and powerfully in the process of evolution and cosmic progress. They also intervene and assist in human affairs. Yet even the highest of these advanced beings is still a creation existing in the mind of the all and still subject to universal laws. In that sense, they are still mortal because they belong to the universe and are subject to its conditions. According to the principle of correspondence, which embodies the truth, as above, so below, as above, so below, all of the 7 Hermetic principles are in full operation on every plane of existence. There is a correspondence, harmony, and agreement between the planes. As above, so below, as above, so above, as below, so above. This centuries-old Hermetic axiom embodies one of the great principles of universal phenomena. As we consider the remaining principles, we will clearly see the truth within the principle of correspondence. Chapter 8. Sacred principle number 3, the principle of vibration. Hermes taught that everything constantly moves and never rests long before microscopes proved the validity of his postulation. Vibration is what distinguishes and differentiates the plane of correspondence discussed in the previous chapter. The all vibrates at a constant and steady high rate. The slowest vibrationary rates are found in matter. The other planes of correspondence vibrate at rates in between these 2 extremes. The material plane is composed of vibrating atoms. If a material object was spun around or vibrated fast enough, the human senses could no longer see or hear the object. The object would leave the material plane and move upward in frequency to the mental and spiritual planes. Similarly, you can raise the vibration of objects and thoughts to move them to higher planes of existence. Each thought, emotion, or mental state vibrates at different frequencies, such like musical notes. Just as you can deliberately play a specific musical note, so can you choose to deliberately hold specifically high vibrating thoughts, emotions, and mental states. Every thought, emotion, and desire vibrates and attracts experiences. You must elevate your thoughts and emotions. The principle of vibration explains that you can polarize your mind at any vibrational degree you wish, and so gain perfect control over your mental states, moods, and experiences. A portion of your thought vibrations affects the minds of other people, a phenomenon called induction or telepathy. You can deliberately uplift the vibrations of those around you by elevating and radiating your positive thoughts. You can also change the vibration of material objects to attract them into your life, to fix broken items or release anything that's unwanted. Those who study and practice the principle of vibration are using a higher law than physical laws, thereby seeming to defy gravity, time, and space to accomplish miracles. The Kybalion says, "He who understands the principle of vibration has grasped the scepter of power." Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. The Kybalion. The third Hermetic principle, the principle of vibration, embodies the truth that motion is manifest in everything in the universe. Nothing is at rest. Everything moves, vibrates, and circles. The Hermetic principle was recognized by early Greek philosophers who embodied it into their systems. But then, for centuries, the principle was forgotten. It was rediscovered in the 19th century when scientists unlocked the secrets of atoms and radioactivity. Science now realizes that matter and energy are modes of vibratory motion. And soon science will discover the same within mental phenomena. The differences between the various manifestations within the universe are due entirely to varying vibrational rates. Even the all manifests a constant and intensely rapid vibration. Spirit is at one end of the pole of vibration, and the other pole is extremely dense and slow vibrating forms of matter. Between these two poles are millions of different rates and modes of vibration. Daily life provides concrete examples of the effects of increased vibrations. As musical notes get higher in pitch, their vibrational rate increases. Okay, I'm a singer. You hear? Vibrates really, really fast. Oh, not too fast. Oh, you see the difference, okay? As musical notes get higher in pitch, their vibrational rate increases. Eventually, the notes and vibrations are so high they are imperceptible. Colors are another example. Real is the lowest of the real is vibrational color. Colors are another example. Red is the lowest vibrational color the human eye can see. And violet is at the top of the spectrum. There are even higher notes, colors, and energies that are beyond human perception. When an object vibrates fast enough, its molecules disintegrate and resolve themselves into the original atoms. Then the atoms, following the principle of vibration, are separated into the countless electron and protons of which they are composed. With a high enough frequency of vibration, even these elements will eventually scatter. The remaining essence of the object is then composed of ethereal substance. substance. The faster vibrations liberate the object's light, heat, and other energy from its previously confining molecules and atoms. If the vibrations were further increased, the dematerialized object would climb the successive mental and spiritual planes until it would finally re-enter the all. Just as a musical note may be reproduced by causing an instrument to vibrate at a certain rate, so can mental states be reproduced at will. Okay, in other words, you can control your mental state and lift your vibration to any level you choose. Every thought, emotion, reason, will, desire, mental state is accompanied by vibrations, a portion of which affects the mind of other people through induction. This produces telepathy and other forms of psychic phenomena and mental influences. With a little reflection, you'll see that the principle of vibration underlies the wonderful phenomena and power manifested by masters and adepts who set aside natural laws. In reality, they are simply using one law against another to accomplish their results. They have learned to change the vibration of material objects and other forms of energy and perform miracles. Remember the Hermetic Axiom? He who understands the principle of vibration has grasped the scepter of power. Okay, chapter 9. Sacred principle number 4, the principle of polarity. The principle of polarity could be also called the principle of practicality, since it offers a profoundly practical tool for living, manifesting, healing, and practicing divine magic. The first 3 principles have discussed how the material, mental, and spiritual planes are from the same energy, which the Hermetists call the all. The differences in planes are purely because they vibrate at different rates. The 4th principle states that everything has 2 polarities or extremes. These seeming opposites are part of the same pole and are just situated at different ends. For example, hot and cold are extremes of the pole called temperature. The Kybalion says the difference between things diametrically opposed to each other is merely a matter of degree. In between the 2 polarities of hot and cold are countless degrees of warmth and coolness. It's the same way with every apparent opposite: hard and soft, noise and quiet, light and dark, good and bad, love and fear. When you find one thing, you'll also find the potential for its opposite. The principle of polarity empowers you to transmute an undesirable situation to the other end of the pole and manifest a desirable situation. If something undesirable is present in your life, it means that its opposite is also present. This principle works by lifting your mental vibrations to a higher level to banish the undesirable and attract the desirable. Let's use the example of money. One end of the money pole is prosperity, where you have as much money as you could possibly desire. Poor is at the other end, where there isn't enough money to meet your needs. In between these 2 extremes are countless financial situations in between poverty and prosperity. Let me show you it in the book. Poverty and prosperity. It's probably upside down, but I can't turn this around at the moment because I'm filming it on my phone. If you worry about money or complain that you don't have enough, your thoughts are going towards poverty, end of the pole. Consequently, that's what you'll attract. Even if you don't seem to have money right now, you can use the principle of polarity to improve your financial situation. So let's see, that's interesting. Imagine a lever sliding up and down the money pole. To attract more money, you can adjust your vibration upward by visualizing that the lever is at the highest possible location along the pole. Since this pole is in your mind, it's your creation. Therefore, it's your personal money pole. Even if you're worried about money, you can mentally will the lever to move up higher. That visualization can immediately attract windfalls of prosperity, provided you monitor the lever's position to ensure it stays at the upper end at the pole. If you have difficulty imagining prosperity, then mentally push the lever on the money pole to the highest position you can imagine, manifesting in reality. There's no point in asking you to visualize something you can't accept as a real possibility. Yet, any improvement in elevating your lever up the money pole, you will have a positive effect on your finances. This is true even if you can only imagine pushing your lever up one notch above its current position. Keep monitoring the money pole. Push the lever up higher as you feel comfortable. The minute you believe that prosperity is possible, you'll allow the lever to reach the top of the pole. Of course, you can also imagine a pole that controls your beliefs about money and other life areas. Keep your levers high atop these poles to release old, limiting beliefs about money, love, and such. Everything that you desire has a pole assigned to it. Okay, I'm going to stop this here. No, I won't. I'll carry on, and then I'll do the lever exercise separately so you can use that to attract money. Everything that you desire has a pole assigned to it, whether it's health, a happy marriage, inner peace, or any other topic. Imagine this whole series of poles with sliding levers similar to a sound mixing board in a recording studio, or like an airplane's control panel. Each of these levers controls your finances, relationships, health, and other life areas. You're pushing it to the highest vibration to attract it. Take a moment to visualize your inner control panel. Where are the levers positioned along the poles? To improve any situation mentally, move the lever higher up the pole to the top, ideally. Check your poles regularly. Or if you ever feel upset, to ensure that they haven't slid downward. This gives a whole new meanings to staying on top. We'll do this separately as well. For instance, let's say that you've quarreled with a loved one and you want a peaceful resolution. First, visualize a pole governing your relationship with this person. Mentally move the lever alongside the pole to the top position of peaceful relationship with, say the name of the person in your mind. Every time you think about this person, check to make sure the lever is still at the top of the pole. Use this same mental imagery as frequently as possible for other areas of your life. The result is pure divine magic. We'll do this exercise separately, but I'm going to carry on with the book. Everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike of the same opposites are identical in nature but different in degree. Extremes meet, all truths are but half-truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled. The Kybalion. Okay? The great fourth Hermetic principle, the principle of polarity, embodies the truth that all manifested things have two sides. Aspects or poles. The difference between things seemingly diametrically opposed to each other is only a matter of degree of vibration. For instance, spirit and matter are two extremes of the same thing, with intermediate planes in between them. So, it is that the all and its creations are upon the same pole, with only vibrational differences between them. Heat and cold are identical in nature, distinguishable only by degree. A thermometer shows many degrees of temperature, the lowest being cold and the highest heat. Between these two extremes are many degrees of hot or cold. The higher of 2 degrees is always warmer, while the lower is always colder. There is no absolute standard, as it's a matter of degree. There is no place on the thermometer where heat ceases and cold begins. It is all a matter of higher or lower vibrations. The very terms high and low are poles of the same thing, and the terms are relative. It's the same with east and west. If you travel around the world in an eastern direction, you'll eventually reach a point which is called west at your starting point. Travel for far enough north and you'll find yourself traveling south, or vice versa. Light and darkness are another example of poles of the same thing, with many degrees between them. In the same way, a musical scale begins with a C note. You move upward along the musical scale until you reach another C, and so on. The differences between the two ends of the scale are the same. Color too follows the same principle, with higher and lower vibrations being the only difference between high violet and low red. Large and small are relative. So are noise and quiet, hard and soft, sharp and dull, and positive and negative. Good and bad are also relative. We call one end of the scale good and the other bad. A thing is less good than the thing higher up the scale. However, that less good thing in turn is more good than the thing below it, and so on. And so it is on the mental plane. Love and hate are generally regarded as being diametrically opposed to each other and reconcilable. But as we apply the principle of polarity, we find there's no such thing as absolute love or absolute hate as distinguished from each other. They are merely terms applied to the two poles of the same thing. Beginning at any point of the scale, we find more love or less hate as we ascend, and more hate or less love as we descend. There are degrees of love and hate, and a middle point where like and dislike become indistinguishable. Courage and fear come under the same rule. These pairs of opposites exist everywhere, and wherever you find one thing, you'll find its opposite at the other extreme of the same pole. This fact enables you to transmute one mental state into another along the lines of polarization. Things belonging to different classes cannot be transmuted into each other, but things of the same class may have their polarity changed. So love never becomes east or west or red or violet. Love may and often does turn into hate. Likewise, hate may be transformed into love by changing its polarity. Courage may be transmuted into fear and the reverse. Hard things may be rendered soft. Dull things become sharp. Hot things become cold. It's all the same process. The transmutation always involved things of the same kind of different degrees. Take the case of a fearful man. By raising his mental vibrations along the line of fear and courage, he can be filled with the highest degree of courage and fearlessness. And likewise, the slothful person may change himself into an active, energetic individual simply by polarizing along the lines of the desired quality. The two ends of the poles may be classified as positive and negative. Love is positive to the negative hate, positive courage to negative fear, positive activity to negative non-activity, and so forth. The positive pole is a higher degree than the negative and readily dominates it. The tendency of nature is in the direction of the dominant activity of the positive pole. So you see that you could change your mental state by moving upward toward the positive pole, and that nature will help you along. In addition to changing the poles of your own conditions, the principle of polarization allows you to also influence another's mind to elevate their mental state. Mental induction means that mental states may be produced by induction from others. So a higher mental vibrational rate may be communicated to another person, elevating the polarity of that person's mental state. This is how the majority of mental treatments occur. For instance, let's say that a person is depressed and filled with fear. A mental scientist uses their will to increase the vibration of their mind. Then they extend this positive vibration to the other person to produce a similarly higher vibration through induction. This raises the other person's vibration and results in polarization at the positive end of the scale. Fear and other negativity are transmuted into courage, and similar vibrations that result in polarization at the positive end of the scale. Fear and other negativity are transmuted into courage and similar positive mental states. A little study will show you these mental changes are all along the line of polarization, with changes only being within a few degrees of another. This great Hermetic principle enables us to better understand our own mental states and those of other people. We see that these states are all matters of degree and that we can raise or lower the vibration at will to change our mental poles. We can master our mental states instead of being their servant and slave. And by this knowledge, we can aid others intelligently and positively raise their polarity. We advise all students to familiarize themselves with the principle of polarity, because a correct understanding will throw light on many subjects. When I finish reading this book, I'm going to go into every single principle slowly and explain it. And I'm also going to give you my life experiences so you can understand it better and you can apply it. Whoops! You can apply it to your life and you can get to the high vibration I am on. And others are on. With me, without medication, I'm very grateful to say never ever needed it, never will need it, never will use it. But you have to choose what to do. Anyway, chapter 10, sacred principle number 5, the principle of rhythm. I've got rhythm. Yeah, we'll go through each one separately. I might even sing a song to fit, okay? The principle of rhythm ties together the principles of correspondence, vibration, and polarity. This principle states that everything moves pendulum-like up and down the poles discussed in the previous chapter. The cycle of life illustrates these rhythms with birth, life, death, and rebirth. Ocean tides and seasons are other examples. The Hermetists say that the principle of rhythm explains changes in moods, feelings, and experiences. The two ends of our personal mental plane poles are higher and lower consciousness, or the higher self and the ego. Until we become aware of the principles of polarity and rhythm, the pendulum swings back and forth between the higher and lower selves. It can feel as if we have no control over our thoughts and the resulting circumstances. The Hermetists have learned how to neutralize this tendency by making the conscious decision to be unaffected by the pendulum swings of life. And you don't get triggered anymore. Wow. The Kybalion puts it this way. The Hermetic master or advanced student polarizes himself as the desired pole and by a process akin to refusing to participate in the backward swing. Or if you prefer, a denial of its influence over him. He stands firm in his polarized position and allows the mental pendulum to swing back along the unconscious plane. Visualize the control panel discussed in chapter 9. Slide all your levers to your highest position, okay? So money, whoosh! Health, whoosh! Love, whoosh! Career, whoosh! Psychic abilities, whoosh! All at the top, okay? They're all at the top now. To manifest at a consistently high rate, keep your mental poles fixed at the highest points, so don't let them drop. Okay? This visualization can help you avoid the belief that bad follows good or experiencing depression following elation. If you ever become angry, discouraged, or feel bad in any way, remember to check your control panel. The principle of rhythm says that in life you'll experience changes and fluctuations, but you can be like the wise sailor who stays clear of the swinging boom mast on the ship. You don't have to be affected by life's ups and downs if you just keep your mental control panel levers in their high positions constantly. Well, do your best, if not keep them in the middle. Balance. Balance is the most important thing. Balance. Visualize a lock that holds your levers at their highest position to ensure, so you lock it, right? The highest position to ensure the consistent elevation. The Kybalion says, An understanding of the workings of this principle will give one to the key to the mastery of these rhythmic swings of feelings. In other words, the power of your decision can help you ride a continual tide of upward swings. Okay, so lock your lever at the top if you can. Everything flows out and in. Everything in its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swings, manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates the Kybalion. So just keep imagining your lever is right at the top for everything. And if you feel a little bit low, close your eyes. Where's my lever? Oh, it's gone all the way. Whoosh! I'm going to push it up. Okay? It's a bit like the law of attraction. If you can't push it all the way up, push it a tiny bit, a little bit at a time. And that way, bit by bit, you come out of it. The great fifth Hermetic principle, the principle of rhythm, embodies the truth that everything moves in measured motion. This could also be described as a to and from movement, a flow and inflow, a swing forward and backward, a pendulum-like movement, a tide-like ebb and flow, and a high tide and a low tide. This steady movement occurs along the poles within the physical, mental, and spiritual planes. The principle of rhythm is closely connected with the principle of polarity described in the preceding chapter. Rhythm swings between the two poles established by the principle of polarity. This does not mean, however, that the pendulum of rhythm swings to the extreme poles. This rarely happens. In fact, it's difficult to establish the extreme polar opposites in the majority of cases. But the swing forever goes towards the direction of the pole's extreme, even if it never reaches them. There is always an action and reaction, an advance and retreat, and a rising and sinking manifested in all of the planes of the universe. Suns, worlds, men, animals, plants, mineral, forces, energy, mind, matter, and even spirit manifest this principle. Rhythm manifests in this creation and destruction of worlds, in the rise and fall of nations, in the life history of all things, and in the mental states of humans. Universes begin and end with the exhaling and inhaling of the all. Universes are created, reach their extreme point of materiality, and then begin their upward swing towards spirit. Sun springs into being, achieve their height of power, and the process of retrogression begins. After eons, they become dead masses of matter, awaiting another impulse to spark their inner energies into actively to begin a new solar life cycle. All the worlds are born, grow, and die, only to be reborn. This is how it is with everything, swinging from action to reaction and from birth to death. Remember your levers all the time. Where are they? It's a bit like the wheel of life. I would do an exercise with you, and that'll be, after I finish reading the book. All the worlds are born, grow, and die, only to be reborn. This is how it is with everything swinging from action to reaction, from birth to death. Every being goes through the cycle of birth, growth, maturity, decadence, death, and new birth. The swing of the pendulum is evident everywhere. Think of the days and the seasons. Night follows day and day night. Sunrise, sunset, sunrise, sunset. Swiftly go the days, one season following another, laden with happiness and tears. Yeah? Think of the days and the seasons, night follow day and day night. The pendulum swings from summer to winter and back again. The electron, atoms, molecules, and all masses of matter swing around the circle of their nature. There is no such thing as absolute rest or cessation from movement. This is such an exciting little book because it's going to teach me how to manifest, everyone how to manifest. And it's easy. It's explained in a very easy way. And so I will go into each principle separately with examples. The principle of rhythm has universal application. It may be applied to any question, phenomenon, and all phases of human activity. The principle of rhythm is well understood by modern science and is considered a universal law applicable to material things. The Hermetists carry this principle much further, though. Its manifestations and influence extend to human mental activities. It accounts for the bewildering succession of moods, feelings, and other annoying and perplexing changes that we notice in ourselves. By studying this principle, the Hermetists have learned to escape from troublesome rhythms through the process of transmutation. Right, now we have the law of neutralization. There were two general planes of consciousness, the lower and the higher. You can rise to the higher plane and escape the swing of the rhythmic pendulum on the lower plane. You do this with the law of neutralization. Okay, which means having a conscious awareness of the principle of rhythm's effect upon your mental states. This is like A Course in Miracles, where you see everything from the eyes of a newborn child, or from the way God does from above, neutral. Okay, again, I'll go into all of these things separately. Without this conscious awareness, you're subject to the pendulum swings of mental states and moods without knowing why, because you're coming from the past and fear of the future. The law of neutralization is akin to rising above a thing and letting it pass beneath you. You polarize yourself at the desired rate, desired pole, and then refuse to participate in the backward swing. This helps you to stay stable, be unaffected as the mental pendulum swings back along, okay, the unconscious plane. So you're not affected, you're not triggered anymore. Amazing. All individuals who have attained any degree of self-mastery accomplish this more or less unknowingly by refusing to allow their moods and negative mental states to affect them. They apply the law of neutralization. Oh my God, we all need that one. The master, however, carries this to a much higher degree of proficiency. Through the use of will, the master attains a steady degree of poise and mental centeredness without being swung backward and forward by the mental pendulum of moods and feelings. You too can attain this through practice and commitment. If you've been a creature of moods, feelings, and emotion in the past, you can alter this course and have mastery of yourself. Consider how much these swings of rhythm have affected your life, and how your enthusiasm has been invariably followed by feelings of depression. It's like up and down, up and down. It's like bipolar, isn't it? Likewise, your periods of courage were likely succeeded by equal moods of fear. Perhaps you never suspected your feelings rose and fell like tides according to natural law. An understanding of the workings of this principle can give you mastery over these rhythmic swings of feeling. This enables you to know yourself better and avoid being carried away by inflows and outflows. This will is superior to the conscious manifestation of this principle. Although the principle itself can never be destroyed, you may escape its effects, but the principle operates nevertheless. The pendulum ever swings, although you may avoid being carried along with it. The law of compensation. The principle of rhythm also incorporates the law of compensation. One of the definitions of the word compensate is to counterbalance, which is how Hermetists use the term. When the Kybalion says the measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left, rhythm compensates. It is referring to the law of compensation. The law of compensation holds that the swing in one direction determines the swing in the opposite direction. One swing balances and the other counterbalances. We see many examples of this law on the physical plane. For instance, the pendulum of the clock swings a certain distance to the right and then an equal distance to the left. The seasons balance each other in the same way. Ocean tides. It is true. If you find yourself getting really, really moody because you've been triggered, really angry about something, you're likely to go very, very far into depression. Okay, so if you don't get too angry, you won't go too far into depression, or you won't go too far into excitement and elatement. It's all about finding that law of compensation, that balance. When the pendulum swings a short distance in one direction, its backward swing is equally short. Long swings to and fro are also equivalent to one another. The law of compensation applies to both the material and mental planes. So a person who experiences great suffering has more capability of feeling great joy because of the extreme swings. In contrast, a person with blunted emotions won't feel extreme pain or joy. So when people like empaths can feel everything, extreme joy and extreme sadness. But some people are numb, they don't feel anything. The capacity for pain and pleasure is balanced within each individual. Hermetists teach that before we can enjoy great pleasure, we must have swung as far proportionally towards the other pole of feeling. This does not mean that bad follows good. However, in fact, the opposite is true. As the negative precedes the positive, pleasure is a rhythmic swing that compensates for pain previously experienced in this life or past lives. This throws a new light on the problem of pain. I'm just going to have some water here because I'm reading a lot. So I want to try and end the book. Whoops, we're doing really well. We've got just another few to go, a few more principles to go. It is entirely possible, as many have done, to escape the rhythmic swing toward pain by the process of neutralization previously described. By consciously rising to the higher mental plane, much of the experience that comes from the lower plane is avoided and escaped. This will require commitment and practice on your part, but the results are well worth any effort involved. Okay, we're going to go on to chapter 11 now. And we haven't got that much left, which is brilliant. We're nearly there. Okay, so I'm going to do each one separately as well to explain each principle and apply it so we can apply it together. Sacred principle number 6, the principle of cause and effect. Right, let me try and put my phone here so I can get my water, because I really need some water. It's very, very hot today in the UK, which is beautiful. I'm not complaining, but you need to drink water. Okay. Sacred principle number 6, the principle of cause and effect. The principle of cause and effect states that nothing happens by chance. Everything in the universe has an identifiable cause. When something appears to occur by chance, it means that the cause is unrecognized. Causes aren't creators or events or circumstances. They're catalysts in a long chain of them, usually driven by underlying beliefs about life and the way that it is. For instance, if you believe that you won't be hired for your dream job, you'll never apply for it. Okay? Yet this belief is only one factor in a chain of causes. For instance, where did the belief come from? If you say, well, my parents modeled it for me, then there's still the question of where your parents acquired this belief. So there's no point in tracing them through chains or events in search of a primary cause. The important and more helpful point is to develop an awareness of this principle in your own life. Without an awareness of cause and effect, you may be unduly influenced by external factors, such as the desires of those exerting willful force willful force in your direction. Hermetic says that you can't change or stop the principles and laws. You can, however, use higher will to prevail against lower will. A conscious awareness of cause and effect combined with intention and practice helps you rise above external influences. The Kybalion says this conscious awareness helps us to become movers in the game of life instead of pawns, causes instead of effects, so you're in control. Notice any strong thoughts or feelings you have throughout the day. These can be thoughts and feelings and seem to just pop in of their own accord, or ones that are consciously manifested. Be aware of recurring thoughts and feelings, especially those involving strong feelings. As you notice these intense thoughts and feelings, immediately visualize your mental control pattern, remember? Observe whether the pole levers have slid downward or whether they remain upward in response to your strong feelings and thoughts. Use your will to lift the levers that have slid down. The action of keeping your levels high is a cause that yields desirable effects. It is the key to divine magic. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law, the Kybalion. The great sixth Hermetic principle in the principle of cause and effect, which embodies the truth that law pervades the universe, nothing happens by chance. In fact, chance indicates that an unrecognized cause exists, okay? So nothing happens by chance. The principle of cause and effect underlies all scientific thought and was enunciated by Hermetic teachers in the earliest days. Philosophers throughout the ages have all agreed about this principle, arguing only about the details of its operation. The underlying principle of cause and effect has been accepted by practically all the influential thinkers of the world. A little consideration will show there is no such thing as chance. Webster defines the word chance as something that happens unpredictably without discernible human intention or observable cause. The assumed impersonal, purposeless determiner of unaccountable happenings. Yet, how could an agent such as chance exist independent of the universal laws, order, and continuity? Such an agent would be entirely independent of the orderly universe and therefore superior to it. Nothing outside of the all could be outside of universal law, because the all is law itself. There is no room in the universe for something outside of and independent of law. The existence of such a thing would render all natural laws ineffective and would plunge the universe into chaotic disorder and lawlessness. Chance is an expression relating to obscure causes that we cannot perceive or understand. The term is often used to describe the rolling of dice, yet each time a die falls and displays a certain number, it obeys a law as infallible as that which governs the revolution of the planets around the sun. The chain of causes that result in the die falling with certain numbers showing include the initial position of the die, the amount of muscular energy expended in the throw, the condition of the table, and so forth. Behind these visible causes are chains of unseen preceding causes which influence the numbers showing on the die. If a die is cast many times, the number shown will be about equal. Toss a penny in the air a sufficient number of times, and head and tails will show equally as it falls. This is the operation of the law of average. But both the average and the single toss come under the principle of cause and effect. The causes preceding the throw of the dice make it impossible for the dice to fall in any other way than it does each time. Given the same causes, the same results will follow. There is always a cause and a because to every event. Nothing ever happens without a cause, or rather a chain of causes. No event creates another event, but is merely a link in the great orderly chain of events flowing from the creative energy of the all. There is a continuity between everything that has gone before and everything that follows. A stone is dislodged from a mountainside and crashes through the roof of a cottage in the valley below. At first sight, we regard this as a chance effect, but when we examine the matter, we find a great chain of causes behind it. There was the rain that softened the earth, supporting the stone, and allowed it to fall. Before that was the influence of the sun, wind, and other rains, which gradually disintegrated the piece of rock from a larger piece. Prior to that were the causes that led to the formation of the mountain and its upheaval by convulsions of nature, and so on. Still, other causes include the factors behind the rain and the roof. Each event has a boggling series of cause and effect. Similarly, each person has 2 birth parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, 16 great-grandparents, and so on. If a certain man had not met a certain lady way back in the dim periods of human history, you may not be here now. If the same couple hadn't met, perhaps we who write this book would also not be here. Sorry, I didn't get that. 8 great-grandparents. Oh yeah, of course, yeah. It's confusing. If the same couple hadn't met, perhaps we who write this book would also not be here. Yourself, this book, and its authors live in a chain of events that are affecting the future. The ancestry of causes behind even the most trifling event shows the relativity and association of all things. Every thought we think, okay, and every act we perform has its direct and indirect results within the great chain of cause and effect. Nothing is large or small in the mind of the all because they're all connected. This discussion may also trigger questions about free will or determination. According to Hermetic teachings, neither side of the free will controversy is entirely correct. In fact, both sides are particularly right. The principle of polarity shows that both are half-truths and opposing ends of the pole of truth. Humans are both free and yet bound by necessity. Some people are slaves to their heredity and environment and enjoy very little freedom. They are swayed by the opinions, customs, and thoughts of the outside world and by their emotions, feelings, and moods. They claim they are free to do whatever they want to without analyzing the reasons why they want to do something. Too many people are carried along like falling stones, obedient to environment, outside influence, internal moods, and the desires and wills of others stronger than themselves. Move like the pawns on the checkerboard of life. They play their part and are laid aside after the game is over. But those who have learned self-mastery understand the rules of the game. They rise above the plane of material life and place themselves in touch with the higher powers of their nature. They determine their own moods, energy levels, and polarities, as well as the environment surrounding them. They become movers in the game instead of pawns, causes instead of effects. These masters don't escape the causation of the higher planes. They simply work with the higher laws and master circumstances on the lower plane. They form a conscious part of the law instead of being its blind instruments. While they serve on the higher planes, they rule on the material plane. On the higher or lower planes, the law is always in operation. There is no such thing as chance, and everything is governed by universal law. The infinite number of laws are manifestations of the one great law, the law which is the all. No sparrow drops unnoticed by the mind of the all. Even the hair on our heads are numbered. There is nothing outside of law and nothing that happens contrary to it. And yet we are not blind slaves to these laws. The Hermetic teachings are that humans may use laws to overcome laws. The higher will always prevail. The higher will always prevails against the lower. Okay, chapter 12. Yeah, we're nearly there. Sacred principle number 7, the principle of gender. When the Hermetists use the term gender, they're referring to masculine and feminine energies that combine to create manifestations. Gender has nothing to do with physical sexual attributes. Every person, thing, and situation has both masculine and feminine energies. A woman has inner male and feminine and female. Likewise, a man. It's the same male and female balance throughout life, from the tiniest atoms up to the largest mountains. Atoms have masculine and feminine energies that bond to create matter. In fact, feminine and masculine energies are always combining and catalyzing each other with resulting creations. Masculine energy sends itself outward into the world. Feminine energy is receptive and attracting. Outwardly projecting masculine energies are called positive, and receptive feminine energies are called negative. The terms positive and negative aren't used in the usual sense of good and bad. They refer only to the direction in which energy flows, like the plus and minus signs on a battery. Like a battery, plus and minus, or a magnet. The principle of gender works on all three planes of correspondence: physical, mental, and spiritual. On the mental plane, masculine energy is expressed as the conscious mind, and feminine energy, the unconscious mind. Mental gender. Hermetes distinguish between the me and the I within each person. Your me is a combination of your moods, mental states, habits, and body. It's your feminine energy. Your I is the being within you who can will the me to act according to its wishes, desires, and intentions. It's your masculine energy. Okay? So let's say that again. Your me is a combination of your moods, mental states, habits, and body. It's your feminine energy. Your I is the being within you who can will the me to act according to wishes, desires, and intentions. It's your masculine energy. And I did do a reading about the spine. It came to me through spirit. That is the masculine energy, the strong spine. All right, the I. Many identify only with their me state. They feel victimized and constricted by the me's facilitating moods. The me isn't undesirable, though. In fact, it has creative energy force within it. However, the me needs to be balanced with the I, the male and the female together, to use the creative force in consistent ways. The feminine mental principle, the me energy, is receptive and generates new ideas that your masculine mental principle, I energy, puts into action. If you can detach from identifying with your me and instead identify with your I, you can then send energy and direction to the me's wonderful ideas into reality. Your me and I will then team up to manifest the me's wonderful ideas into reality. The I is the force that makes sure that all levers on the console are kept consistently high. Even when they slip down, the I can observe and correct this. Telepathy and other psychic phenomena can also be explained and improved through the principle of gender. Telepathy occurs when a thought is sent, which is a masculine action, by one person and received, a feminine action, by another person. Telepathy can further be developed through practicing the receptiveness, such as asking others to help you and saying yes to gifts and offers of assistance. Often people who are physically blocked and unable to see or feel angels or other psychic energies are those who are such generous givers they rarely allow themselves to receive. This makes them unbalanced in their male energy, and so it's difficult for them to relax and become aware of the inflow of spirit. People who have competitive or high-stress jobs often get overly situated in their male energy. Another psychic block occurs when a person tries too hard to make a psychic vision happen. Striving is a male energy. Receptiveness is the feminine energy required to receive psychic impressions. So too, much male energy can block you from receiving spiritual messages. That's why I was always told to breathe, to let the energy come in and the psychic messages come in. An imbalance of too much feminine energy is equally unhealthy, often resulting in a passive personality who merely observes life rather than acting upon or expressing original thoughts and ideas. Balanced energy is the healthiest, both for psychic development and for practicing divine magic. Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. The Kybalion. The Great Seventh Hermetic Principle, the principle of gender, embodies the truth that gender is manifested in everything. The masculine and feminine principles are ever present and active in all phases of phenomenon and on each plane of life. Gender in its hermetic sense and sex, in the ordinary accepted use of the term, are not the same. The word gender is derived from the Latin root meaning to beget, procreate, generate, create, or produce. This word has a much broader meaning than the term sex, which refers to the physical distinctions between male and female beings. Sex is merely a manifestation of gender on the great physical plane. In contrast, the effects of gender's creating, producing, and generating are visible on every plane. For instance, we find manifestations of the principle of gender among the protons, ions, and electrons, which constitute the basis of matter. These protons, electrons, and ions revolve around each other and vibrate at a high degree and intensity. But the formation of the atom is really due to the clustering of negative electrons around a positive one. The protons influence the electron, causing the latter to assume certain combinations and so create or generate an atom. This is in line with the most ancient Hermetic teachings, which have always identified the masculine principle of gender with the positive and the feminine with the negative poles of electricity. We aren't using the terms of positive or negative in the ordinary sense, where positive means something real and strong and negative means weakness. Nothing is further from the real facts of electrical phenomenon. The negative pole of the battery is really the pole throughout which the production of new forms and energies are manifested. There is nothing negative about it. Science now uses the word cathode in place of negative. The word cathode, I hope this is okay because the light has changed, the sun. I think the sun, we'll turn around actually. We'll turn around because the sun is now behind. So you can see my car, I'm sorry about that, instead of the beauty. Right, let's see. It doesn't make much more difference really. You can see the beauty instead of the cars. Right, I hope you're enjoying this. I think it's amazing. I'm going to analyze it. Eventually I'll analyze each chapter. Science now uses the word cathode in place of negative. The word cathode derives from the Greek root meaning descent, the path of generation. The cathode or negative pole is the mother principle of electrical phenomena. Instead of using the terms cathode or negative though, we shall use the word feminine in speaking of that pole of activity. The pole of activity. Sorry, I'm just charging my battery so we can keep going. There we go. The attraction of feminine electrons and masculine protons create atoms. When the feminine electron unites with a masculine proton, it's gone quite dark in here. Let's see if I put the light on, will that make any difference? No, it's nothing. Yeah, the sun's gone. Anyway, I'm just going to carry on because we're nearly finished anyway. Just going to carry on reading. Right. The attraction of feminine electrons and masculine protons create atoms. When the feminine electron unites with a masculine proton, the creative process begins. Feminine particles vibrate rapidly under the influence of the masculine energy and circle rapidly around the latter. The result is the birth of a new atom composed of a union of the masculine protons and feminine electrons. However, when the union is formed, the atom is a separate thing having certain properties. Electrons and protons are the most active workers in nature's field. Their unions create light, heat, electricity, magnetism, attraction, repulsion, chemical affinity, and similar phenomena. All this arises from the principle of gender on the plane of energy. The masculine principle seems to direct energy towards the feminine principle, which starts the creative process. The feminine principle always does the creative work on all planes. Everything in the organic world manifests both genders. The masculine is always present in the feminine form and the feminine present in the masculine form. Gender is in constant operation and manifestation in the field of inorganic matter and energy. The scope of this book doesn't allow for a thorough scientific discussion of the phenomena of attraction and repulsion of atoms, chemical affinity, or the attraction or cohesion between the molecules of matter and atomic particles. These facts are too well known to need extended comment from us. Hermetic teaches that all of these activities and phenomena are manifestations of the gender principle. Moreover, the law of gravitation, that strange attraction in which all particles and bodies of matter in the universe tend toward each other is another manifestation of the principle of gender and the attracting the masculine to the feminine energies. The principle of gender and the mental plane. Let us now consider the operation of the principle on the mental plane, where many interesting features await examination. Psychologists speak about the dual mind, which they label the conscious and the unconscious. These seemingly new theories have been discussed in Hermetic since ancient times. Dual mind theories always so correspond to the principle of gender. The masculine principle of mind corresponds to the conscious mind, and the feminine principle of mind corresponds to the unconscious mind. To get a deeper sense of this teaching, turn your attention inward upon the self dwelling within you. Your conscious reports the existence of this self to you with I am feelings, thoughts, and phrases. Focus a little while longer and you realize this I am can be separated into two distinct parts. While these two parts work in unison, they may nevertheless be separated in consciousness. While at first there seems to be only an I existing, a more careful examination reveals that there is both an I and a me. These mental twins differ in their characteristic, and an examination of this phenomenon will illuminate many of the problems of mental influence. Let us begin with a consideration of the me, which is usually mistaken for the I, until you press the inquiry further into recesses of consciousness. Your me consists of your feelings, knowledge, tastes, likes, dislikes, habits, and characteristics which make up your personality. This is the self known to yourself and others. The me's emotions and feelings change and are subject to the principles of rhythm and polarity, which manifests one extreme of feeling to another triggers. Some mistakenly believe that their me consists solely of their body and physical appetite, yet those who rise in consciousness are able to disentangle their me from the idea of the body. They are able to correctly identify the body as belonging to the mental part of themselves. There is still an even higher level through which to view the me. Instead of identifying with your feelings and personality, you can see them as aspects within yourself which are not truly you. Like little identities, yeah? Little identities. Since your mind created these feelings and other states, you can change them with your will. After learning to elevate your moods and outlook, you stop identifying with your mental states, emotion, feelings, habit, qualities, characteristics, and other personal mental belongings. You set them aside in the not me collection of curiosities and encumbrances. Clearly, this requires much mental concentration and power of mental analysis. Still, the task is possible for the advanced students. And even those not so far advanced are able to see in the imagination how the process may be performed. After this detachment process has been performed, you'll find yourself in conscious possession of a self which has I and me dual aspects. The me is a mental womb that produces thoughts, ideas, emotion, feelings, and other mental states. The me reports to the consciousness with creative ideas and inspirations of all sorts and kinds. Its powers of creative energy are enormous, yet the me must receive energy from its I, companion, or another person's I, to manifest its mental creations. There's an aspect of you that can will your me to act in certain ways. The same aspect stands aside and witnesses your mental creations. This aspect is called your I. It is that part of you in which you can rest your mind, as the I isn't involved in constantly creating ideas like the me. The I helps the me put her ideas into motion by sending her supportive energy. The I wills the me's ideas into manifestation. The I represents the masculine principle and mental gender, and the me represents the female principle. The I is the human aspect of being, while the me is the aspect of becoming. Your masculine and feminine mental principle co-creations are the same process used when the mind of the all creates universes. The two illustrations are similar in kind, although vastly different in degree, according to the principle of correspondence. As above, so below, as below, so above. The masculine and feminine principles, the I and the me, are the master key to understanding mental and psychic phenomena. Okay? The masculine I and the feminine me come together, and they are the master key to understanding mental and psychic phenomena. The feminine principle always tends in the direction of receiving impressions, while the tendency of the masculine principle is always in the direction of giving or expressing. The feminine principle tends in the direction of receiving impressions, while the tendency of the masculine is in giving or expressing. The feminine has a more varied field of operation than the masculine. The feminine principle conducts the work of generating new thoughts, concepts, and ideas, including the work of the imagination. The masculine principle contents itself with the work of the will in its varied phases, and yet, without the active aid of the masculine principle, the feminine principle may be passively contented with externally generated mental images instead of producing original, internally generated mental creations. Now, this is why the twin flame journey is so incredible, because the masculine and the feminine had to be balanced in both of the counterparts in order to manifest the most amazing results for humanity. And so this is the only time in the whole process of humanity where you're going to get masculine and feminine energies balanced in both counterparts. It's never happened before. It's unusual, and it's the twin flame experience where you have to balance. I will explain this later when I'll do a talk about the twin flame experience and what it is, but this explains it beautifully. Those who focus continued attention and thought on a subject are actively employing both of the mental principles. Okay, continuous attention and thought. They're using the feminine for mental generation and the masculine will in stimulating and energizing the creative portion of the mind. Many people ignore the masculine principle. They're content to live according to the thoughts and ideas installed in the me from the I of other minds. The principle of gender is also key to understanding the various psychic phenomena classified as telepathy and hypnotism. Telepathy occurs when the vibrational energy of the masculine principle is projected toward the feminine principle of another person, and the latter accepts and processes the projected energy. Hypnotism operates in the same way. So when we're talking about telepathy, if you're a woman and you have strong masculine energy, you can connect in a telepathic way to someone else. We're not talking about male and female sex. We're talking about the energy of masculine and feminine, okay? Because I've heard people say that if you're in a twin flame relationship, your masculine cannot pick up your thoughts or you cannot pick up their thoughts. That's not true, because whenever anyone is in a masculine space energy, the other twin will pick up their thoughts, because they are able to send them telepathically when they're in the masculine. When they're in the I, they are in manifesting mode, okay? An idea lodged in the mind grows and develops, is eventually regarded as the rightful offspring of the second person. It takes practice and strength to use your masculine willpower consistently, yet this effort is worthwhile because it will direct the otherwise passive feminine creativity into action. You have to have action, and that's the masculine. And you have to be grounded, but you have to bring in the self-love and the nurturing and the humanity and all of that. That's the feminine, and that's how you create the beautiful balance. Once you begin working regularly with your own masculine willpower, you will be less susceptible and in need of other people's masculine willpower. In other words, you will find your independence of thought, finances, and freedom through enacting the principle of gender within yourself. The strong men and women of the world manifest the masculine principle of will, and their strength depends materially upon this fact. Instead of living upon the impressions made upon their mind by others, they dominate their own minds by their will. They obtain desirable mental images and have the option of influencing the mind of others. Strong people implant their seed thoughts into the mind of the masses of people, causing them to think thoughts in accordance with the desire and wills of the strong individuals. too many people are sheep-like creatures. Sorry. Never originating an idea of their own. That's why the world is the way it is. Nor using their own powers and mental activity. If they would generate their masculine principle, they could escape the herd and be their own shepherds. The manifestation of mental gender may be noticed all around us in everyday life. Magnetic personalities are those who use the masculine principle to impress their ideas upon others. The actor who makes people weep or cry as he wills is employing this principle, and so is a successful speaker, orator, statesman, preacher, writer, or others in the public spotlight. This peculiar influence exerted by some people over others is due to the manifestation of mental gender along the vibrational lines we have described. This principle is the secret of personal magnetism and influence, as well as the phenomena called hypnotism. The energizing of the feminine principle by the vibrational energy of the masculine principle is in accordance with the universal laws of nature. The very creation of the universe follows the same principles of gender, along with all creative manifestations upon the spiritual, mental, and physical planes, as above, so below, as below, so above. When the principle of mental gender is one grasped and understood, the varied psychological and psychic phenomena are understandable. The principle works in practice because it's based upon the universal laws of life. With the aid of Kybalion, you may approach any occult library anew. These principles from ancient Egypt illuminate many topics previously considered mysterious. That is the purpose of this book. We do not come expounding a new philosophy, but rather furnishing the outlines of great old world teachings which will clarify the teachings of others. May these teachings serve as a great reconciler of different theories and opposing doctrines. Ultimately, they are all the same, as the principle of polarity has reminded us. Afterward, Hermetic Axioms. The Kybalion offers both philosophical and practical insights that can assist you with any endeavor. The 7 principles help to chart the territories of emotions, health, and materiality. The more you study these principles, the more you'll see examples of them in everyday situations. That's when hermetics begins to make sense and become incorporated into your life. As lofty as the Kybalion's discussions sound, they really are down to earth. Hermetic shares the good news that your life can be filled with all things that are desirable. Your moods and energy levels can be consistently elevated, and you have all of the means to live a creative and prosperous life. Since everything in your life is a product of your mind, you can use the tools of hermetics to make any desired alterations. For instance, anytime you experience an upsetting situation, remember, if the negative is present, so must the positive or desirable outcome be present. Mentally check your mental control panel on the pole governing the situation. Push the levers all the way to the top, for as high up as your beliefs will allow. This is a visual representation of the Hermetic Law of Neutralization, which says you can use your will to decide against being pulled downward in your moods, energy, or situations. When your thoughts are elevated, you attract and manifest more desirable outcomes. Let's push them up. Push them up. Love, health, career, moods. And if you've upset someone, or you feel you're not in contact with them, or you want to give them some love, then push the love up with their name and stay up there. Okay. And what about the angels, archangel, goddesses, ascended masters, and other spiritual helpers? As the Kybalion, my own other books, and many people's experience attest, these celestial spirits are very involved in our lives. They live on the 3rd plane of spirit, but they interact with both the physical and the mental planes. Because they vibrate at a higher frequency than matter or mind, the angelic and ascended master realms can help to elevate us. Just by thinking about angels and divinities, your thoughts are raised to a higher frequency. You can also ask these beings to assist you in keeping the levers high on your mental control. So angels, help us. And the starseeds and earth angels are here. I'm an earth angel and a starseed, as do quite a lot of us that probably are watching this channel now are angels and starseeds. Come here to help humanity feel and heal, and to push their lever up, and to come out of the mode of not knowing that they need to be in both masculine and feminine energies. The Hermetic principle of gender can help you generate new ideas and put them into action. This principle can help you overcome self-doubt or procrastination. Your inner feminine energy is receptive and eternally patient, which is why she sometimes appears passive and unmotivated. Like a satellite dish receiver, she is also tapped into the collective unconscious, which is the generator of wonderful new ideas, innovations, and inspirations. So your inner female is similar to a sensitive and creative artist who has wonderful ideas but doesn't act upon them. Your inner masculine energy loves taking action. His energy is giving and enthusiastic, which is why he sometimes feels pushy or domineering. He's all action without the inspiration. Living in either energy too much creates an unhealthy imbalance. So I'm trying to get the light here to finish the book. I think there's a bit more light here. There we go. A little bit more light. Yeah. We're coming to the end of the book anyway. Your inner masculine energy loves taking action. His energy is giving and enthusiastic, which is why he sometimes feels pushy or domineering. He's all action without the inspiration. Living in either energy too much creates an unhealthy balance. Yet, imagine if your inner sensitive female artist with all of her wonderful ideas would work as a teammate with the inner male. It'd be like the artist and the manager, talent, agent, producer working together as an unstoppable, successful team. Okay? That's the twin flame thing. When they both come together, it's mind-blowing because they're both balanced in the masculine and feminine. And it's never happened before to that extent. Your feminine energy receives divinely inspired ideas, which the masculine energy then acts upon. Your inner male breathes life or spirit into the body of the female ideas. The rhythm of the masculine and feminine is natural unless it's blocked by fear or negative experiences or judgments about one gender. Again, the rhythm of the masculine and feminine is natural unless it's blocked by fear or negative experiences or judgments about one gender. Okay? You have to come to terms with both. One way to experience consistently balanced masculine and female energies is to engage in giving and receiving daily. So each day, give something: time, money, friendly words, and so on, without any attachment to receiving praise, rewards, or gratitude from the recipients. This will engage your masculine energy in a healthy way. So the masculine is giving time, money, friendly words. If you don't have money, just smile. That's giving. Or do what I'm doing. That's giving. Be a gracious receiver. Make it a daily happy to receive, to keep your energy, your feminine energy alive and awakened. Be a grateful receiver. Say thank you without apology or guilt. So anytime you receive something from someone, say thank you. And be happy to receive, because that is the feminine energy. Okay, so you're balancing the gifts that are offered without guilt. Your inner female is quite quietly receptive to the whispers of divinely inspired ideas. Her teammate, the inner male, is poised to lovingly put these ideas into action. This is the inner mystical marriage that sages have always discussed. This is the spark of divine magic. And this is where the twin flame journey comes in. You are both high priest and high priestess, wizard and sorcerers. sorceress. You have the power right now to effect great miracles in your life around you. You are forever a divine magician, and with the help of 7 Hermetic principles, may you forever enjoy the fruits of these gifts. The possession of knowledge, unless accompanied by a manifestation and expression in action, is like the hoarding of a precious metal, a vain and foolish thing. Knowledge, like wealth, is intended for use. The law of use is universal, and he who violates it suffers by reason of his conflict with natural forces. The Kybalion. The above quotation, stated forcibly by the Kybalion, refers to the law of use. This law says that knowledge without use and expression is a vain thing, that's why I pass it on, which brings no good to its possessor or to the human race. Beware of mental miserliness in which you hoard your ideas and inspirations. Instead, express into action that which you have learned. Study the axioms within the Kybalion, but practice them also. Hermetic teachings were kept securely locked in the mind of its teachers and students during times of religious intolerance. Yet, Hermes intended for these principles to be taught, studied, and put into practice. We give below some of the more important Hermetic axioms from the Kybalion with a few comments added to each. Make these your own and practice and use them, for they are not really your own until you have used them. Okay? To change your mood or mental state, change your vibration. That's obvious, isn't it? Didn't Einstein say that? You cannot make a decision from the vibration, the low vibration. You have to change your vibration also to make a decision. You may change your mental vibrations by directing your will and attention in the direction of a more desirable state. Will directs the attention, and attention changes the vibration. Cultivate the art of attention by means of the will, and you hold the secret to the mastery of moods and mental states. That's where gratitude comes in, and doing what you love, creativity. To destroy an undesirable rate of mental vibrations, put into operation the principle of polarity and concentrate upon the opposite pole to that which you desire to suppress. Kill out the undesirable by changing its polarity. This is one of the most important of the Hermetic formulas. It is based upon the scientific principles. We have shown you that a mental state and its opposite were merely the 2 poles of one thing, and by mental transmutation, the polarity might be reversed. The principle is known to psychologists who apply it to the breaking up of undesirable habits by bidding their students concentrate upon the opposite quality. Yeah. If you are fearful, don't waste time trying to kill out fear. Instead, cultivate the quality of courage and fear will disappear. This is similar to turning on a light to illuminate a dark room instead of fighting the darkness. That's what I said. You accept the darkness. This is so important. You don't run away from it. You accept the shadow, you accept the darkness, but you shine a light on it. Okay? To banish a negative quality, concentrate upon the positive pole of that same quality, and the vibrations will gradually change from negative to positive, until finally you become polarized on the positive pole instead of the negative. The reverse is also true, as many have found out to their sorrow when they have allowed themselves to vibrate too constantly on the negative pole of things. By changing your polarity, you may master your moods. Change your mental states, remake your disposition, and build up character. Much of the mental mastery of Hermetics comes from this application of polarity, which is one of the more important aspects of mental transmutation. Remember this axiom from the Kybalion: mind as well as metals and elements may be transmuted from state to state, degree to degree, condition to the condition, pole to pole, vibration to vibration. The mastery of polarization is the mastery of the mental transmutation or mental alchemy. Unless you acquire the art of changing your own polarity, you will be unable to affect your environment. An understanding of this principle will enable you to change your polarity as well as that of others. if you devote the time, the care, study, and practice necessary to master the art, The principle is true. But the results obtained depend upon your persistence, patience, and practice. I'm trying to get the light again. Patience and practice, okay? Patience and practice. We're nearly there. I'm losing the light a bit. I need to open the window. It's very, very hot. Okay. Rhythms may be neutralized by an application of the art of polarization. As we have explained in the previous chapter, the principle of rhythm manifests on the mental and physical planes. The bewildering succession of moods, feelings, emotions, and other mental states are due to the backward and forward swing of the mental pendulum, which carries us from one extreme of feeling to the other. The law of neutralization enables you to overcome the operation of rhythm in consciousness. As we have explained, there are higher and lower planes of consciousness. By rising mentally and dwelling on your higher plane of consciousness, you escape the backward swing to the lower consciousness. Through an act of will, you polarize on the higher self, which raises your mental vibrations above the lower plane of consciousness. You rise above the pendulum swing and allow it to pass beneath you. You can polarize yourself at the positive pole of your being, the I am pole, rather than polar personality. You can refuse and deny the operation of rhythm. This decision raises you above the lower plane of consciousness. Stand firm in your statement of being as you allow the pendulum to swing back and forward. Swing back to the lower plane without affecting you. This is accomplished by all individuals who have attained any degree of self-mastery, whether they understand the law or not. Such persons simply refuse to be swung by the pendulum of mood and emotion. They remain polarized on the positive pole. This process doesn't involve destroying the principle of rhythm, since that's impossible. You simply overcome one law by counterbalancing it with another to maintain emotional equilibrium. The laws of balance and counterbalance operate on the mental and physical planes. Once you understand and work with these principles, you will seem to overthrow natural laws. However, what you're really doing is practicing counterbalance. You're rising to a higher plane of causation, which counterbalances the laws of the lower planes of causation. Nothing escapes the principle of cause and effect, but there are many planes of causation, and one may use the laws of the higher to overcome the laws of the lower, the Kybalion. By rising above the plane of ordinary causes, you become a cause instead of being merely caused. When you master your moods and feelings and therefore neutralize rhythm, you escape cause and effect on the ordinary plane. Too many people are carried along obedient to their environment, the stronger wills of others, the effects of inherited tendencies and other outward causes that move them on the chessboard of life like pawns. By rising above these influencing causes, you enjoy a higher plane of mental action. By dominating your moods, emotions, impulses, and feelings, you express new qualities and powers that help you to overcome your ordinary environment and become players instead of pawns. You then play the game of life intelligently instead of being manipulated by external influences, powers, and wills. You use the principle of cause and effect instead of being used by it. Of course, even avatars are subject to this principle's manifestations on the higher planes. But on the low planes of activity, they are masters instead of slaves. As the Kybalion says, the wise ones serve on the higher, but rule on the lower. They obey the laws coming from above them, but on their own plane and those below them. They rule and give orders, and yet in so doing, they form a part of the principle instead of opposing it. The wise person falls in with the law and by understanding its movements, operates it instead of being its blind slave. The skilled swimmer turns this way and that way, going and coming at will, instead of being as the log, which is carried here and there. Yet both swimmer and log, wise person and fool, are subject to law. He who understands this is well on the road to mastery. The Kybalion. In conclusion, let's review again the Hermetic Axiom. The Hermetic transmutation is a mental art, Kybalion. The process of influencing your environment is accomplished by mental power. Since the universe is wholly mental, it's logical it may be ruled only by mentality. This truth explains all the phenomena and manifestations of the various mental powers that are taught and studied. Within every phenomenon and teaching is the ever-present principle of the mental substance of the universe. If the universe is mental, then it follows that mental transmutation must change the conditions and phenomena of the universe. If the universe is mental, then mind must be the highest power affecting its phenomena. If this is understood, then you will understand and work miracles. Remember, the all is mind, the universe is mental. The Kybalion. There you go. We've done it. Divine Magic, guys. The 7 Sacred Secrets of Manifestation. I hope you enjoy the book. I hope it helps you. I'm going to do the principles separately. Please listen to the book first so you get the general idea of it. It's absolutely incredible. It was devised by Doreen Virtue. She edited it and revised it, and this is an interpretation of the classic Hermetic manual, the Kybalion. So I'm going to take each principle and explain it and apply it to my life so I can help understand it with you, and so we can become Divine Magic manifestors. Take care. Love you lots. Please share and like. Subscribe to my channel. And have a beautiful day. And keep yourself up on that mental plane. Yeah? Push it up. Keep pushing it up. Love. Love. Healthy vibrations. Because I know what my triggers are. And there's plenty of them around these days. So I try to keep away from the human race at the moment. I do my best because there's only certain humans I can be around at the moment, I'm afraid. And so I do my best. But it's a test. Let's see when I get to that vibration that I don't get triggered anymore. I'm not there yet. Love you lots. Bye.